Hi, my name is Maria Ostreicher, and I'm running for judge of the Circuit Court for Carroll County, and I would appreciate your vote. While the judicial race is nonpartisan, I am a registered Republican. I have 20 years of legal experience. The majority of my career has been spent in public service. The judges of the Circuit Court have an immediate and direct impact on your day-to-day lives. The historic courthouse in Westminster is over 180 years old, and yet a woman has never been appointed to serve on its bench. I do not expect you to vote for me just because I'm a woman, but with your vote, you have the opportunity to change the face of the bench in Carroll County to be more reflective of our citizenry, and at the same time, elect the most qualified, well-suited, and well-deserving candidate. And that is why I'm asking you to elect me as your next Circuit Court judge. To do that, you need to know about my qualifications. I am most proud of my tenure at the Carroll County State's Attorney's Office, where I served for 14 years as a senior assistant state's attorney specializing in domestic violence prosecutions. I've trained hundreds of law enforcement officers at the Maryland Public Safety and Correctional Training Commission. I've tried thousands of cases across Maryland, the vast majority of which were tried in the district and circuit courts of Carroll County. I was nationally recognized for my expertise in trial advocacy when I was asked to train prosecutors from across the country on behalf of the National District Attorneys Association at the National Advocacy Center. As a member of the Maryland State's Attorneys Association, I spent hundreds of hours drafting legislation and testifying in Annapolis on behalf of all of Maryland prosecutors for stricter criminal penalties and to strengthen victims' rights. As a prosecutor, I went to work each day knowing that I was changing lives for the better. My work made a real difference. I was making a difference. When I left the state's attorney's office, I went back to private practice. During my time in private practice, I handled a wide variety of matters, including criminal defense, family law, victims' rights, small business, landlord-tenant, administrative law, civil protective orders, and estate work. In addition, I was appointed by judges of the Circuit Court to represent children in custody, abuse, and neglect cases, and by the Public Defender's Office to represent indigent clients when their office had a conflict of interest. Eventually, I received a call from Governor Hogan's Appointments Office asking me to apply for my current position in the Maryland Department of Human Services, where a primary portion of my job includes drafting and testifying on legislation before the House and Senate on behalf of the Maryland Child Support Administration. With my passion for public service, the appointment was an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. At the Department of Human Services, I serve as division director overseeing several areas in the central office of the Child Support Administration, most notably legislation, policy, and regulations, where I work to ensure the enforcement of child support orders across the entire state while maintaining compliance with state and federal statutes and regulations on behalf of Maryland's most vulnerable citizens, our children. The criminal docket is one of the largest dockets for a circuit court judge, so extensive criminal experience is imperative. I have the most well-rounded experience of all of the candidates, and by far the most criminal prosecution experience. The Maryland Constitution has certain requirements in place for the appointment of judges. District court judges must be confirmed by the Senate, and circuit court appointees must stand for election. It's part of our democratic process, and we should welcome the accountability because the judicial nominating process is political and it's flawed. The current circuit court appointee had very little criminal experience at all and no criminal prosecution experience when he was appointed to the bench. While the process hopes to identify the most qualified applicant, politics often get in the way, and the most qualified, well-suited candidate is not always the person that gets appointed. While I was busy prosecuting cases, I neglected to engage in the politics of being appointed, and that was my mistake. Because the judicial election is nonpartisan, the candidates will appear on both the Democratic ballot and the Republican ballot. If one candidate wins both primaries, this race will be over. Your vote on June 26th is critical because there may not be a need for a general election in this race. I have dedicated my career to public service, working on behalf of Carroll County's most vulnerable victims and children, trying thousands of cases in our courts, and I would like to serve out the balance of my career as your next circuit court judge and the first female to do so, and I can't do it without your support. You can read more about my background and qualifications on my website, mariaforcircuitcourt.com. Please vote for me, Maria Ostreicher, for judge of the Circuit Court. Let's make history together. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Judge Richard Titus of the Circuit Court for Carroll County. Over 2 years ago, Governor Hogan appointed me as a judge, and the Constitution requires that I stand election to retain my seat on the court. 2 individuals have recently filed to challenge me in the upcoming primary election on June 26th. So today, I'm asking you for your vote. Since my appointment, I've worked hard to develop a reputation as a firm but fair judge who applies the law as written without resorting to creative or strained interpretations. I have a strong work ethic and do my best to ensure that all citizens who appear before me for their day in court are given an impartial, full, and fair hearing. My wife Marlene and I have lived in Carroll County for more than 25 years. Our 2 children were born here and went on to proudly graduate from Carroll County Public Schools. Prior to my appointment, I practiced law exclusively in Carroll County for more than 20 years, representing local citizens, small businesses, volunteer fire departments, and municipalities. My practice was civil and transactional law as opposed to criminal law. While one of my opponents has displayed photos that suggest otherwise, I am the only candidate formally endorsed by Governor Larry Hogan in this election. I am also proud to have the endorsement of the Bar Association of Carroll County, along with the strong support of the law enforcement community. Judicial elections are unusual. They put at risk the careful and deliberate appointment process followed by the governor. That process ensures that all applicants are fully investigated and screened by a 13-member judicial nominating commission. This commission consists of Carroll County business owners, community leaders, and attorneys. The commission first reviews a lengthy written application and then considers input from the interviews of the candidates performed by a wide range of bar associations across the state. The commission next conducts its own interviews. Upon doing so, the commission submits a recommended short list of those candidates found highly qualified to the governor. Finally, the governor then interviews each finalist. Only after the conclusion of that exhaustive process is the selection made. This process ensures that only those found highly qualified may serve as a circuit court judge. In contrast to the process I went through, which required me to give up the law practice I'd developed over 25 years upon being appointed, my opponents both simply paid the $50 filing fee and are permitted to appear on the ballot. They can retain their law practice and begin campaigning. However, lavish campaign spending on billboards, websites, signs, or Facebook commentary gives no assurance of a candidate's suitability to be a circuit court judge. As one might expect, often the reason attorneys choose to file for election as a judge is because they were previously unsuccessful in applying to do so or refused to undergo the scrutiny of the application process. Put another way, they have never been found highly qualified and hope that by filing for election and putting on a fancy campaign, the voters won't know any different. For example, one of my opponents, who has also sought to make this race about gender, fails to mention that she previously applied unsuccessfully 4 times in Carroll County. Notably, Governor Hogan appointed a woman to one of those positions she unsuccessfully sought. By comparison, I was found highly qualified by the commission and appointed to the court on my first and only application. My background demonstrates my qualifications as a judge. What I am not is a politician. In fact, I am not seeking or accepting campaign contributions. As a sitting judge, it does not feel right to be asking for money from people who may later appear before me in a case. What I am asking for is your vote on June 26th. Better yet, I'd ask for your vote and for you to ask your friends to do the same. This is a nonpartisan election, meaning I will appear on both the Democratic and Republican ballots. The ballot will not list me as an incumbent or sitting judge, and my name appears last alphabetically. Therefore, in this race, please remember they save the best for last when it comes to judge of the circuit court. Please vote for me to ensure the continued quality of justice in Carroll County. Thanks for your time.